wasn't intentionally hiding, but I guess I was hiding. It was kind of funny when we talked because I was like, she goes, I've been looking for you for 13 years. And I was like, I didn't know I was lost for 13 years, So anyway, all right. Hey, thanks for listening to the Badass Dad podcast, where we are a band of brothers committed to forging stronger fathers. Hey, get connected with us. You can go to our website, new and updated website, BadAssDads.org. That is BadAssDads.org. Hey, sign up for our email list where you'll be getting the most up-to-date content and some behind-the-scenes things as well as exclusive content. Follow us on Instagram at Badass Dads Podcast. You can also do me a favor. My one ask for you is subscribe and write a review and rate this podcast. Give us 5 stars, leave us a review. We're going to be sending out some swag, some t-shirts and things to people who leave a review for us. So please do that and follow us on all those different forms. Have a badass day. Welcome to the BadAss Dad podcast. KDH here on the microphone with the Deshrivers, Stacy and Stephen. How are you guys doing?
Doing great this afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Stephen?
Amazing.
Yeah. I shot you a text, 24 hours ago?
Less than that.
Less than 24 hours. And I said, hey, got a situation and I think we need to get on the microphone and record this. And this, who knows if we're going to release it or not, but this is literally going to be me going on the couch here, getting the counseling session. I'm going to let you guys know. So for full disclosure, have I told you what this is about today?
Not a thing.
No, yeah.
Nothing.
Okay, nothing. I literally
Makes me a little bit nervous, actually.
Okay. And so what I did was I asked you guys to write down what you think this could possibly be. And so I'm going to get to it here in just a minute. But, one of the things I've valued about our podcast and what we've been able to do over the last more than a year now is really we've just had conversations. And it's just as real as it gets. I mean, it's like the UFC. It is as real as it gets. I mean, we've had everything from, Tyler Patton talking about, his daughter passing away, death of a child, unbelievable. We've had guys talk about being sexually abused and sodomized as kids. We've had divorce. We've talked about, just a whole gamut of situations. We did one. It was now 7 months ago when my mom passed away. So we did one shortly. I don't even think we released it, but we could definitely do that because we wanted to just have real conversation. We've had conversations about the race issues and riots and differing opinions and different sides of situations and issues. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to rant here for just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to show you guys a message here, and I'm gonna let you read it. So this is going to give you the idea of it, okay? And hopefully you guys remember, I'm not a big social media guy, so I don't know things. So I'm going to have you just read it. Don't read it out loud, okay? But you can read this, and then I'm going to come to do some part to this, and it is amazing. When I woke up 2 days ago, Saturday, July 18th. And I imagined what all the world possibilities of the day could be. This was not anywhere on my radar. Okay, in no way, in no way was this on my radar. Okay, and so for the last 44 hours, I guess it's been, I've been processing, talking, with my wife, and I'll share a little bit more. Okay, you have a deer in the headlights. Look, close? Were you close?
Not even close.
Not even close. All right. So for full disclosure, all right. So here's what happens. I'm going to put my glasses on for this. So Gretchen, my wife, so we are on social media, but it's under Kevin and Gretchen Harper, and it's really her account. I mean, she does things, she posts things there. I do everything through BadAss Dads, mostly on Instagram, or all on Instagram, I should say there, and then it goes to our BadAss Dads page, whatever. And so I to be honest, I'm a little naive as to how things work. I was really shocked to see, this post, and then some of the people that posted underneath this person's post and what they actually had. I mean, it literally had a ton about me that I didn't realize that people would be able to get. So this was a copy of the first page. And so this is a picture of my mother when she was in high school. I'm guessing 16 years old, 17, 18 years old, so somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so here it is. So this person, Alicia, she writes, "All right, Facebook, I need your help. I've been looking for my brother that I've never met. His name is Kevin. His mom's name is Judy," goes on, "from Dallas. He was adopted by Judy's husband. And so I believe Kevin's name is Kevin Davis Harper, a.k.a. KDH. And I believe he was born," and she actually used my birthday, which I thought was kind of weird that my birthday would be there. Okay. So there's some red flags that go up. My dad thinks he's moved to Colorado to be a coach, but he's not sure. This is my mom's school picture. Please share, help me find my brother. Was this what you guessed? Did you guess that?
No, I thought you and Gretchen were having a baby.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't even think of that either. But I was like, oh my gosh, like you made my heart just start pounding. I was like, oh my God. Okay.
So I have a couple of questions.
Okay, come
right off the bat.
I have so many questions.
Okay, good. See, I knew you guys would be the perfect ones to ask. I mean, probably, especially coming from an educational background and all the different things that you get to deal with. So, yeah, let's go. I'm ready.
So just to summarize everything that just happened.
Yes.
So let's unpack your background for a second.
Yeah.
So for people who don't understand, what is your background? Like, what is your history? Like, so you were adopted by.
So, okay.
How did this work?
All right. So here's what happens. So my mom gets pregnant when she's 16 years old.
Okay.
Okay. Way back in the 60s, right before the summer of love.
A minute ago.
Yeah. And so she gets pregnant age 16. She gives birth to me 2 months after she turns 17. Okay. So she's in high school. And so at that point, I'm not really sure, I never really heard what happened to my biological father, which that's going to come up here in just a second as well. I'd never really heard that story much. It was never spoken of. But what was told to me as I was growing up until age 12 was that he died. So I go from infancy to age 12, basically Jacob's age, right now, 12, 13 years old, thinking that my biological father is dead. So it became a moot issue. I mean, it's like, I don't need to think about it. I mean, he's dead. What am I going to do? And then it was in the summer of that year that my mom and I are having lunch, and we're having Mexican food in Dallas, and she's having a couple margaritas, and she just kind of very casually says, "By the way, I was talking to Gary the other day," and I was like I knew the name, but I didn't really, and I was like, "Who?" It was so casual. It was like a conversation that we had all the time, and then I was like, "Oh wait, you're telling?" So at that moment, come to find out, not only is he not dead, but he lives in Dallas also.
How old were you at this point?
I'm 12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah, 12, yeah. And I must have been 13, I guess, at that time. And so, yeah, so I spent the early teen years, how would you say, I had anger issues. I channeled this energy very well into athletics. Okay, it served me well in this season, and so once I got to, I think it was sophomore year in high school, I remember there was a girl that I knew. I didn't know her really well, but there's a girl that I knew that got pregnant. And it was like, okay, I knew how it worked, but I didn't know. And so then I was like, okay, maybe this is kind of what had happened. Okay, so I got it. And so now it was always on the table for me. She was like, hey, my mom was like, hey, if you ever want to meet him, you can. I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready. And then my senior year in high school, and it was funny because I ended up talking to Ashley, my sister. So weird to say this, okay? So weird to say all these things. I talked to her yesterday. No. Wait, was it yesterday? No, Saturday. I talked to her Saturday night, so a few hours afterward. And she actually confirmed some of the things I thought, because sometimes your memory can kind of play tricks on you. And I was like, so what had happened my senior year in high school, I told my mom, I said, you know what? I'm not ready to meet Gary, but I think he would like to see me play. Have him come and see one of my basketball games. So he comes and sees what ends up, we actually lose, was in the playoffs. And so he did come and see. And so Ashley actually confirmed that. She said, oh yeah, he came and saw you play. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So then several years go by. I go off to college. I finish college. And then I was like, you know what? I think it's time for us to meet. I'm ready to meet him. And so we meet once again at a Mexican food restaurant in Dallas. Much of my life, every time I met Micah too, you know, is at a Mexican food restaurant, you know. But you know, so we met, and you know, we had a conversation, and you know, and I don't really recall a whole lot. I do remember him sharing with me that he had other kids, and the feeling that I had at that moment was, you know what, I don't want to disrupt your life, and you know, I don't want to disrupt my life. You know, so we met, you know, it was kind of that. And, you know, I'm unbelievably grateful. I mean, I'm going to miss somebody, but I had the Elys, the Adams, the Hurleys, the Cobbs, I had the Garlands, you know, those were all families that I had close relationships with, whose dads, moms and dads, really had huge impact on me in high school. You know, the Garlands, you know, when I was out first teaching, you know, they're just years ahead of me, just, you know, taught me so much. And the Morgans, I mean, tons of different people, you know, leave that. I've got the Arenders, the Tuttles, the Marchesanis. I've had so many different layers of people that have filled so many gaps for me that I just never really thought about it, and it never really came up. And then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, you know, this post comes up. So apparently, for now 13 years, Ashley has been looking for me, and we talked a little bit about this. So she is, 9 years younger than me? Okay, so she. I don't remember all the details from when we talked the other day, but you know, she was she knew that I existed, but for some reason, you know, 13 years ago, she just started looking for me through social media and everything else. And you know, because I'm not really there, I wasn't intentionally hiding, but I guess I was hiding. It was kind of funny when we talked, because I was like, she goes, "I've been looking for you for 13 years," and I was like, I didn't know I was lost for 13 years. You know. So anyway, all right.
So let me clarify. So Ashley is the daughter of your father.
Yes.
But different mom.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
And she's been searching for you for 13 years, and she just found you.
Yes. And so she has.
Okay.
She has a full-blooded older brother.
Okay, so you have a brother now too.
Yes, who is 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
So there's 3 years between, and I believe his name is Jeremy. I think that's correct. Between me and Jeremy is 3 years. Then you have Ashley, and then I believe there's a Shelley.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure. So what's crazy is I end up going, okay, because partly I'm kind of looking at, when I first read this, I'm going, okay, this is a little weird. Am I being stalked, or what's going on? Why is all my information out there? How do I verify this is true? Okay?
That's exactly where I went.
Right. Yep.
So I click on Ashley's picture, whatever. It takes me to her Facebook, and then it shows her pictures in there. So I'm kind of going, okay, because her last name is not the maiden name of father.
Gary.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Gary's. Okay. So, and it doesn't show it like in her bio. So I'm kind of, I don't know. So I'm scrolling through pictures, and I get to like picture 116. And there's a picture of 3 kids. And it's a picture that looks like it could be from the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, it's one of those, you know, kind of grainy type, you know, pictures in there. And then in the bottom, it has the kid's name and it has the last name. Okay.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden I'm going, okay, either someone went through a hell of a lot to work, or this is real. And once again, there are all these other things. And so then I'm like, because Gretchen is like, you know, Kevin, I think we need to respond to her message, you know, because she direct messaged Gretchen and said, I've been looking for you, you know, is this you? And so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm like trying to unpack this and going, you know, my mind. And so I'm kind of sitting on it, perseverating.
So
yeah.
Do you have any other siblings?
I do. I have another brother.
Okay.
So same mom, different dads.
Okay.
But we didn't grow up together. So I guess the interesting part of my story, if you will, on that is, in many ways, well, biologically, I am the oldest of now 5. Okay. Didn't grow up with really any of them. Okay. But I was raised by my grandmother, so it was also kind of like I was the youngest, if you will. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So.
I have a million questions, but Stacey, you can go.
Wow. So you have met Ashley previously in the
No.
past. Oh, you hadn't.
No.
Okay, so the sister who saw you at the basketball game.
No, that was her dad.
That was her.
Our.
Your dad. Okay,
Yes,
got
yes.
it. All right, clarification.
Yeah, he
Point
was
of
the only one that
clarification.
came. Yep,
Okay,
yep.
so it was Gary that came to the basketball game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was verified by.
Ashley actually mentioned it. She said he saw you play in high school.
But that wasn't verified until when
no,
did that?
I knew that. Well, my mom had told me that, but I didn't meet him. I mean, we played in front of 1,000 people or whatever. So, but yeah, so it was good confirmation. Going, okay, so he actually did come.
Yeah,
You know,
you
so,
didn't
yeah.
because you didn't know.
I
You
didn't
didn't
really
have a
know.
conversation
Yeah,
with
we
it.
didn't-
Yeah.
yeah.
So at this moment,
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking of like, have you reached out yet? Or are you guys just still kind of sitting on
No,
this?
yeah, I did reach out. Okay.
Okay.
And so what had happened was, so she direct messaged Gretchen, and Gretchen, we talked and said, okay, I think the message Gretchen we sent back was, well, you seem to know a lot about me. I mean, everything from, my name, first name, middle name, last name. You know that my mother has been married several times. You know her maiden name. You have a picture of her as well. Okay.
Why?
Yeah. Why?
The only thing I'm guessing on that is that father, still had the picture.
Okay.
Okay.
Way back when.
Or it's a yearbook that they pulled out, or okay.
Could have been that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I told you, this is as real as it gets. I mean, because I think other people are going to have similar situations, and I'm still personally unpacking this, and I'm going to tell you, I'll end up sharing the story. I did talk to Ashley. You asked that question. So we direct message her back, and Gretchen says, Kevin's, contemplate. I mean, she's been looking for 13 years. I've been 37 seconds,
right. Right.
So yes, let's kind of figure it out. So I was like, okay, let me catch my breath here for a moment. And then I was like, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about it. I'm going, man, if I've been looking for 13 years, I mean, what's another day? Part of me goes that way. Okay. But then part of me goes, okay, what, am I just going to sit here all night and think about this? And I'm like, let's go, let's just do it. So, we get her number, and which I think is still totally crazy. I mean, whatever, Facebook, blah, 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 do it. And so I FaceTime her. So I know first I text her and said, hey, this is my number, just so you'll know it's me. And then I FaceTime her, and then we start talking. And of course, she sees me. She's like, oh my gosh, she recognizes me, and she recognizes me in features similar to our family. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to use that phrase. So yeah. And so we end up talking and for a bit, and yeah.
Here, okay, so am I allowed to go immediately for the arteries?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because you said a couple things.
I'm on the couch.
Okay, so you said a couple things you said one thing a couple times that I think it might be worthwhile to process before you start, or as you go through this. Both times when you had the opportunity to either meet your dad or talk to other people from your family, you basically alluded to the fact of you didn't want to cause a disruption or be a disruption. Mm-hmm. So my worry is that you're going to go back to that same place again, regardless of how this works out. You seem to be operating from a place of don't make any waves, that you somehow are a disruption to what's happening here. Mm-hmm. And I don't want whatever it is that you're doing, you get to own all of this too. Like you said, she's been looking for you for 13 years. You've all of a sudden been found.
Yeah.
And if you feel, wherever you land on this, if you want to close that door, or if you want to throw that door wide open and bring everybody all together and all that stuff, mm-hmm. don't think of it, ask yourself, okay, am I only doing this to not make waves or to not be disruptive?
Yeah.
Because it seems to me you're oh, I don't, when they said, do you want to meet? Mm-hmm. I mean, all of a sudden you're constantly in this position of getting bombs dropped on you and people asking you, well, what do you want to do right now?
Right.
And now you've got some space and you've got some time to think and process.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want, this is a good opportunity for you to maybe either make some changes or re-solidify how you handle when new things come your way, especially as it relates to family, mm-hmm. And, just thinking about your kiddos and things like that mm-hmm. this could potentially happen to them someday. So I kind of feel like you're getting this experience in case that does happen to them one day, and how you can say, all right, look, I had to unpack who I was as a person so that I could do what was best for me, so that I could do what made the most sense for me and my family and for you guys. And, if you're, if it's Jacob and Bentley, right? Yep. So if Jacob and Bentley wind up in this position, they might also have a wife or, a significant other going through that with them. And you can say, look, I've done this, and this has been my story too.
Yeah.
And this is what I did. And so I think it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting circle, but I'm really concerned that you're going to fall into, rather than it being an interesting circle, that it might start another cycle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you feel about where are you at? Am I way off on that?
No. I mean, I think it is definitely a perspective to have. For me, I feel like more than anything, I'm coming at this from a place of strength.
Yes.
Okay. If I go back to when I'm 22, about to turn 23, I think it's right in there. When I meet Gary, the only time we met, I would say I was a place of weakness, but gosh, I'm just going to say it the way it is. My mom at that time was in and out of rehab a lot. And so, I'm off at college and I'm dealing with that, and I'm back and forth. I got my first relationship, from college kind of spilling over. All this stuff is happening, and so I don't know what do the kids say now. I don't know if I had the bandwidth. If I really, I think I was aware enough at that time to go. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to really build a relationship at this point, or to pursue wherever it is. And I don't even now. I wrote the article, 45-second friend. So I reached out to two of my boys Saturday. I think it was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. And I said, I didn't even text them. I called them, and both of them actually answered. And so I said, hey, I need more than 45 seconds. This might be a 135. Okay. We got two plates on each side. We got, plate on each side. This might be a 225, rep or whatever. And so, and it was really good. Partly it was good because, my best friend growing up, all the way since, into junior high and into high school, and since then, he answers the phone. I go, hey, so Clark, what are you doing? And he goes, well, just having, I don't remember what it was. It was some kind of brown drink, bourbon or something like that. And I'm like, there it is. That's all the wisdom I needed. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so that's what I need to do right now. But it was really good. And then I reached out to Darius, shortly after, and he was in the middle of a 10-year-old birthday party, and he goes, man, I got all these 10-year-olds here, and then the funny part was when we're on the phone, his daughter walks in, Chloe walks in, and she's like, can I borrow your shoes? And she puts on the shoes, and she goes man, your feet are sweaty. And I was like, you know what? Here's what that reminded me. I was like, you know what? Of all this, man, life just goes on. This is just life. This is part of life. And so I have been thinking, because I'm like, you know what? My boys, we adopted both of our boys, and there are questions, and they're going to get a chance to see me navigate these waters.
Yeah.
And so I haven't told them yet, so they don't know at this point. It is literally Darius, Clark, Gretchen. I called my cousin. And then you guys. So literally that's who knows at this point. No one's going to listen to this anyway, so, whatever. But, it was just, yeah. So, the one thing Darius said is he goes, because I was like, man, I think this sounds too righteous or whatever, I'm really concerned about my boys and what will happen there. And he goes, you know what, that's good. And that is righteous. He goes, but this is really more about you right now.
Yes.
So
again, you don't want to disrupt what's going on with your boys, and that's where I'm just concerned that you might take action that is going to be kind of going back to that place when right now you have all the power to make all of the choices that you want. Yeah, she's been looking for 13 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean, and I hate to sound really harsh about this, but you don't owe her anything.
Right.
You don't owe Gary and Gary's family anything. She's probably wanted, if at the very minimum, closure, and what sounds like at the most a big nice open relationship where everybody goes to Christmas together and starts hanging out again and things like that, and that just might not be. Might not be your bag.
Yeah.
And you've got Gretchen too.
Yes.
And so you guys are now you guys are partners in this.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of got a say in what goes on, kind of pushing forward as well. Yeah. So that would, just her needing to take, because I know if it were me and then all of a sudden this happened to Steven, and I would be, my first reaction would be like, oh my gosh, yes, like more family, more Christmases, like more, like let's all get together, let's all meet everybody. And then if I can totally see this, if Steve was like, I don't really know, I would be the one to be like, oh, come on, like it's going to be great. But it might not be great. Like,
but I'm not feeling that pressure. I really, I mean, what is interesting was Eminem had I think it was him. He had a song like "Cleaning Out My Closet" or something like that. I kind of go, there's a box in a deep dark hole that I kind of forgot. I mean, I won't say I forgot it was there, but I didn't really think about it. I mean, to be honest, even when she said all this, I was like, oh yeah, he did have other kids. I mean, I just went on the forefront of my mind, and so
Well, and just that there was this like casual mention one day while eating quesadillas that your father was still that's a big old bomb to be like, oh yeah, I talked to your dad last week, and you're like, whoa, hold on, So you had kind of some. I mean, I think that was a bit unfair, to just throw that at you like that and then be like, all right, so you want to go for an ice cream, or are we like,
Maybe it explains all my psychosis that I've had for all these years. So,
man, I'll tell you what, that's history does a lot to us, doesn't it? Yeah. But do you think that at this moment, if you had to if she all of a sudden called you up right now, it was like, hey, my flight's landing in 25 minutes. Yeah. What would you do?
That's a great question. I mean, I would meet her.
You'd meet her?
Yeah. I would meet her. I mean, I don't have, once again, I feel like I'm coming from a place of strength right now where that's, when I'm looking at this, I'm going, worst case scenario, I can protect myself.
Yes.
Enough. And I've proven to be able to do that pretty good in my life. And so, I mean, I feel a little bit like, when you have one kid and then all of a sudden you're about to have another kid, you kind of go, man, is there more love, or is there going to be less love given to this? And then all of a sudden you get a dog. I'm like, what, how are we going to have a dog? Like, where's that energy going to go to, or whatever? So,
Well, and she, to be fair, she didn't choose this. This is all didn't. You guys are all kind of floating in the ether of circumstance that just kind of happens to everybody in life. So, she's probably, she's coming from a place of love, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think she's coming for your millions of dollars or your
here's what it's funny.
Or
literally, my first thought was in this. I'm like, damn, I got to give up a kidney. Seriously, that was my very first thought. I was like, oh my gosh, someone's sick and they need a kidney. I don't know why.
I hate to say that. I'll be the negative Nancy in the room right now.
Yeah.
So what was her motivation? And did she say anything? Did she say that, is it just for family? I mean, I'd love to assume that we all do things for, righteous reasons.
Right. I didn't really ask her that. I mean, I asked her a lot about her family and everything else, and we have kids that are the similar age, and she actually is remarried a handful of years ago, and they actually have 7 kids between the two of them. It was like, oh my gosh,
wow.
Like, why do you need more family? Smart. But I'll tell you this side to it, because once I got past my sophomore junior year, and I really understood how this could happen, how you could really have a baby and be young or whatever. And I developed, God, it's going to sound so righteous, and I'm not this way, but I really developed a lot of grace for Gary. And I don't hold grudges against him. I don't anything. And so for me, part of me is going, okay, this guy here he is now in his 70s and going, she even said, he's got regrets and things like that. And I'm just kind of going, dude, don't I'm seriously.
You turned out okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm good. I don't want you to have regrets. And so, and I don't think he's dying, hopefully not, but, if anything, I'd love just be able to say to him is, hey, listen, you know what? I don't hold you in anything. I don't look back on my childhood and go, man, I missed this, blah, 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 or this father, son, or this, whatever. I don't. I mean,
and I think you're and I don't know. I mean, you only hear about the bad stories, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how many I don't know how many Kevins are out there who've taken a situation in which, their father was just not there.
Yeah.
Good or bad, just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I don't hear a lot about people not having animosity. So I could see where he's coming from, making some very broad assumptions. But if you look at some of the other examples out there, I mean, you look at, think what you want about him, but you think let's take a Lance Armstrong, who took that anger in that animosity and drive to another level.
Yeah.
Right. If he was, if he had your mindset of caring and love, I don't think he would have done what he did. So my question is this. So right now, Gary's still alive? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's another one. I don't know if that's like, and I know you had kind of made the decision in your, mid-20s.
Right.
So what, 10 years ago, right? You made a decision in your mid-20s not to have that relationship, and that's fine, or just that you didn't have the bandwidth in your words. Mm-hmm. What is that? How does that change with all of this? And with, so Ashley, how does that dynamic work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're in totally
for you.
It's totally uncharted waters. Here's the funny thing: we were in Texas for the 4th of July just a couple weeks ago, and we go out to see, and everyone should have one of these. Go see my Aunt Franny. Everyone should have an Aunt Franny who lives in Wills Point. And so, as I'm talking to Ashley, I said, "Gosh, we were just here," and because I know where they live, just kind of on the east side of Dallas, and just outside of Dallas. And I was like, "Oh yeah." So we went to Wills Point. She goes, "You drove right by Gary's house."
Whoa.
And so there's some of these things, and even with, there's I guess there's 9 years difference between Ashley and I, but between oldest son, which I'm pretty sure it's Jeremy, between he and I, there's only 3 years. And so, there's, and they grew up in a similar area. So, I could have been a senior. He could have been a freshman. I don't think we went to the same high school, but close enough that our paths our paths could have crossed and like not even known. And so it is interesting. When I think about the boys, because and I'm gonna go ahead and mention on air here because we did have the conversation. I did share off the air. We just shared with Jacob. We had just found out a few weeks before, but that Jacob's biological mother passed away, and there's been no contact there. It's a little different scenario because of backgrounds and everything there, and that adoption process. But he's been asking more questions about his father, his biological father, and he goes, I want to make sure that I get a chance to meet him again, And I was like, we'll do that. I'll make that happen. If that's what you want, I'll make that happen. And he's 13 years old now. But I do think this is going to be an important journey that, once we do share with them, that they're going to get to see how I navigate. Okay, so I've asked the question, and I know, Stephen, you've heard it. Not every podcast, but most of the time I've said, by the time your child reaches age 18, you'll spend 80% of the total time you'll ever spend with them. Then the question I've asked is, what are 3 things you want to teach them? Well, I kind of adapted a little bit for me, and I was like, instead of just teaching them things, I want them to experience me as a man. Here's what it looks like to be a man, the good side, the bad side, and everything else. And how do you how does this man deal with uncharted territory? How do you deal with something? There's not a textbook. Maybe there is. I haven't found it. I haven't looked, for a textbook on this. How do you navigate these waters? And because most likely you're going to walk this path. And, and Jacob knows there are other siblings that he has. Bentley has another brother that's out there. So they're going to walk this. When I called my cousin, she has a grandson, and the father is not in the picture. So it was funny, she was saying, hey, my grandson may be walking this path. So, who knows, maybe when when I'm 80 years old and they start like listening to what I would say, they'll go, hey, what did you do during the season that maybe I'll be able to, and so, my hope is that I'll walk this season with strength and with honor and character and with dignity, and that I'll show also how you can have strength in protecting yourself, yes, but also, being open to see what happens there as well. So, I'm kind of looking at it like, I don't know, is this you're an English major, is this the second act or the third act? I mean, maybe the first act was, prior to age 12, and I have like from 12 to this season, and now here's the third act, and here's when, the great resolution happens, and, the king either wins and conquers, or he gets slain and, in defeat and taken captive and beheaded. I don't know.
Well, I mean, my first thought, like as you're talking through that, is when you're saying like, oh, how do I go through these uncharted waters, and there's no textbook for it, and you're right. I absolutely, if you're doubting your decisions, whatever decision you're going to make on this, first of all, there's no way to know whether or not whatever you do from here on out. There's no way to say, well, if I'd have done the other thing, what would have happened? Right. And second of all, I find it real hard to believe that you're not going to do this the right way. Whatever it is that you decide to do, you're going to do the right thing. You're going to do the thing that's best for your family, for everybody, for navigating those waters. And when this is all said and done, once you can kind of like not get past it, but like move through this like section of your life, and you'll have that opportunity to like look back on it and say, okay, this is what I chose to do. What went well about that? What didn't go well about that? And I think that's where your advice to your kids, to other people's kids, is going to come in, where you say, yeah, I think I did most of this the right way. And if I had to do it over again, I probably would have done this. And this is what I would have lost by taking this other path, or this is what this is something that I could have potentially gained by taking this other path. And I think, being able to provide as many, you got that, you kind of you've got the machete and you're bushwhacking through the jungle right now. And once you get to the other side of it, you might be able to look back and say, oh, I could have just followed that river, but like, but you can tell, anybody who's holding the machete bushwhacking through the jungle again, say, hey, maybe there's that river over there. Yeah. Don't know if it's going to necessarily be better. There could have been full of alligators. I maybe did do the right thing. Yeah. Like everybody says hindsight's 20/20, but it's not really, because you only get to make that one decision. You only get to walk that one path. And I think you're going into it with the right mentality. You have the right heart about this. Like you said, you're coming from a place of strength. I completely believe that. Yeah. Like that's like, there's no doubt. And you're going to do the right thing, and you're going to do the honorable thing. And you're going to show your kids how to do this, because it's going to come that way for them one day. And you're going to be that. This is such an interesting opportunity.
And you didn't even write it down of all the things you could have guessed.
No. And what's funny is that you're definitely not alone in this. Like this is not the first time that we've heard this kind of a thing. And
I told you before, this might be a Jerry's. I should have videoed when like all this came out. I should have videoed it or something. But
do you want me to throw a couch at him or something like that? Would that help? Or
you are not the father.
Yeah, you are not the father.
So let me ask you this one question. Obviously, this is a lesson, right? And I believe that all struggles, anything that we deal with, the bumps in the road, help build us and prepare us for what's coming. And I think you have the right mindset of that. This is teaching you something that you may. And you most likely will have to share with Jacob and Bentley. Yep. And you are showing them how a man would respond to this. What do you want to get out of this?
Yeah. You're part of this too. You're the biggest part of this.
Yeah. What do I want to get out of this? I mean, this may even be a silly response to this, but part of it is just the adventure. I mean, it really is. I mean, as I have, contemplated this over the last, coming up on 48 hours, I've thought long and hard of going, I could be fearful and go, what do they want? Why are they this? What is this time? What's going on here? Are we not going to get along? Then there's the other side, the ego side that goes, well, what if I'm not what they have been hoping for all these years? For 13 years, I'm not the blah, 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 So there's the fear side. And then, there's the other side, or the faith side, or whatever, that it goes, hey, you know what? What if it turns out to be an amazing adventure? Yeah. What if all of a sudden, my boys get to see that just because people made a decision at one time, it doesn't have to be a cloud that follows them forever, that they're going to be able to navigate those waters in the future. And, one of the concepts, I'm so grateful Mark Marchesani taught me this early on in my career, and that was to put the shoe on the other foot. And I've really been thinking about lately, if the shoe were on the other foot. Now, as far as I know, I don't have any other kids. I have not birthed any children. Okay, I have not my seed there, but just going, man, so how would I feel? And so to back up a half step in the story, as I got a little bit older, prior to my grandmother passing away, I was able to get a little bit more into my family story from my maternal grandfather, who passed away shortly after he did pass away, shortly after I was born, or right around when I was born. And there wasn't much conversation about him either. And, I really began to realize that it was my grandmother predominantly, and who was my primary caretaker, loved tremendously, and then my mother secondarily, who basically told and informed Gary that he was not going to be a part. So it wasn't him totally abandoning the situation. It was them Heisman him, from the way I'm able to understand it. And so I can appreciate that. And now through my adult life, I've seen a couple of occasions when I have seen similar situations where mother and or grandmother, or whatever it is, have done that to biological dad and said, hey, you got to give up birthrights or whatever, or you're going to, child support's going to, whatever it is. So I think that's where it is. So, to be able to have shown the other foot. And I think even from this, one of the things that I want to be able to encourage dads that are out there that have been separated from their kids or whatever. I'm not necessarily saying, hey, you need to go look for your kids. You need to, when they're, 4 or 5 decades later, you need to go find them, but at the same time going, you know what, maybe they're okay. And you don't have to beat yourself up. Mm-hmm. I've got to make a lot of choices in my life, and I became accountable for my decisions. And my grandmother taught me very early on that I am accountable for what I put in my body, what I put in my mind. And, on that, I've been thinking about a lot of Mark Devine's work, and, when he talks about feeding the wolf, and which wolf am I going to feed? Am I going to feed the fear wolf? What if this turns out and it's so bad and it's horrible? Or am I going to feed, the other side, which could be love and faith and courage and so I'm just personally choosing to feed this one, even though this other one's over there going, it's growling at me, mm-hmm. going, yeah, but what if this? Well, what if this? Or what if that? Mm-hmm. And what if this becomes total disruption to your family? And going, you know what? I'm at a place now where, I say myself, but I say really Gretchen and I, that we are strong. We are strong enough and to be able to handle this. And now, let's be honest, I also have like 900 miles of distance between us that, I'm always coming back to Colorado right now. So, yeah. It's not like we're right around the corner, from mm-hmm. a disruption standpoint.
One of the, just kind of in hearing you talk about that, because that kind of opens up a different door, right? That if Gary got kind of boxed out of the situation. Yeah. And maybe he's been, just kind of respecting those wishes and things like that. Like now looking at this, if you say, all right, maybe I'm going to go try to reach out to Ashley and then by extension, Gary as well. Mm. You might find yourself in a situation where you have to almost be kind of you've got your head clear, right? Because you never had to work through or deal with that. You might get some really interesting family interactions because they either are going to accelerate that fatherhood, that father figure thing through the family and say, okay, you might get him and he might be just so excited to be in your life again and be your dad, forgetting that you did grow up and you did do all of those things. I mean, we have.
I have navigated those waters once before.
Yes.
Okay. Because when my grandmother passed away, I was 32, 33 years old. And then my mom, she's there, but all of a sudden she decided to come back and be mommy. Yeah. And I'm like, yep. I'm 34 years old, 35.
What are you doing?
So I definitely, continuing through the story, once I hung up the phone with Ashley. We had a great conversation. It was wonderful. She,
Good.
sharing, years and whatever. And she's actually sharing things about my past, our past that I clearly didn't know, from his perspective, their perspective, and that seemed to make sense. And so I shot her a picture, so she have a picture of Gretchen and I and the boy and the dog. Okay, and then I said, you know what? Feel free. You can share this with them. I mean, it'll be open. And so it wasn't too much. It was actually yesterday. So we were actually out at the lake yesterday, and I come back and I get a text message, and it was from Gary. Okay, so maybe I should look. Oh, he actually did call.
He called.
So he said he was going to call today. So he called. So we're not going to record.
Like just now? Like just right while we were unpacking all this?
22 minutes ago.
So when you were walking in the door?
Well, yeah.
No, in the middle of this podcast.
In the middle of this podcast.
So yes, yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
So I'm not going to play. I'm not going to record the conversation now. But yeah. So I mean, so this is so that's why I started off saying, I mean, this is as real as it gets, and this is just happening. And so, I guess what I want, the reason why I want to record is, one, I think it'll be cathartic for me, but I think it'll also be for other guys if they have a similar situation that they're able to go, okay, here's at least another dude that walked this.
Yeah.
Whether he walked it good or walked it bad, time will tell. Okay, but there's at least someone else that's been through this, and so So
Wow.
Let me.
It is funny. I mean,
No, sir.
I hesitated to turn over because I was like, because he said he was going to call the afternoon. So
Yeah.
So there it is.
Wow.
That's insane. So, kind of like the bumps in your road. I mean, people enter your life for a reason.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a lesson to learn from Gary, or there's a lesson to learn, from Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this too. It has been my experience, and that having more connections and knowing more people and having more people be able to teach you those lessons is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And so for Jacob, for Bentley, having more connections and more family in Texas may not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
And understanding your history might not be a bad thing.
This is going to be awesome for Jacob and Bentley, I think. I really do think it will be.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's any way that this could go completely sideways or pear-shaped or, whatever, because you're steering the ship, dude. It's you you're in charge of this. You're a great dad, and you're going to find a way to give good lessons to Jacob and Bentley. And I think about this, from what you're saying from your perspective is that no matter what this does for you or for any of them, all of that aside, this is going to be such a good learning opportunity for your kids.
Yeah.
Such a good learning opportunity. Wow, what a gift.
Yeah.
And it might not feel like it at sometimes, as you're kind of navigating through this, but I think in the end it's going to be so good for them. And you're going to make the right decision. Whatever it is that you do, however deeply you choose to pursue this relationship or your relationship with Gary, or if you decide to say, you know what, this really isn't for us, you're going to make the right decision. You're a strong dude. You're doing all of it right. And
thank you for that. It's funny when you were saying that, I was thinking, so was it, I think Andy Andrews, he wrote a book called, I'm blanking on the book. But anyway, the subtitle is 7 Decisions for Success. Traveler's Gift is the name of the book. And so, and so one of the phrases he has in there, he says, God did not put in me the ability to always make right decisions. He put in me the ability to make a decision and then make it right.
Yes.
Okay. So on that, I mean, one of my, and I would say for Gretchen and I, one of our fundamental beliefs is, love is not a finite source. You can never have too much love. You're never going to run out of that love energy. It will continue to expand, and so in whatever way that may be. I mean, this literally may be this may be a one-off. This may be a one conversation. This may be, but who knows? This may open to a whole new geometric dimension that we haven't even considered with relationships, or it may not. It may literally be a dead end, and it may be okay. Now we pivot, and we've had this conversation, and
But both of those are okay.
Yeah, and it's totally okay. Totally okay.
There's two things just to wrap up. The first one is, with more and more of and I'm just going to use young men, with more and more of our young men being born out of wedlock. And in parts of our culture, it's 60, 70% of our young men are growing up without their father.
Yeah.
I feel like this story needs to be told because they're gonna need it. And the second thing is, I asked you what you wanted out of this. Maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the question is, you're here to provide something for her, or her sons, or her daughters, her 7 kids.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe they need to hear your story, and so maybe we need to get off of ourselves and focus on others.
Yeah, I love that. Well, maybe that's a good ending point. And so I'll listen to the voicemail and I'll call him back here in just a little bit. We'll see what happens. But hey guys, I want to thank you for listening. And we are. I'm in the process. It's so funny that this is happening right now because it was last week. I was saying, hey, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish. This book. I started this thing and I've been putting more framework around it. And so the book, the working title that I've had is "The Dad I Never Had," and then the subtitle is I think it's going to be 8, but eight gifts every kid wants and every dad can give. And so this will. I don't know. Maybe this is the end of it. Maybe this is the beginning of the next chapter. Maybe this is part 2 of the book or whatever. But I'm going to continue to work on that. And so I'm going to put it on here. My commitment is to finish it by October 12th. Be ready to roll it out by then. And so I guess we'll see. There's some accountability. I just put it out there.
Just threw it out to the universe. You might need to put an addendum on the title. The Dad I Never Had, and then showed up one day.
So good. Well, guys, hey, thank you so much for listening. Check us out all over the place. You can go to our website, BadAssDads.org. That's right. We got the new one. Instagram. We are doing better on, communicating there as well. Hit me up. If you want information, if you want just, encourage me or whatever you want to do, you can find us and send some information there as well. So thank you. Have a badass day and be a badass dad. And we are out. Wait. Steven, stop the music. Okay, if you listen this far, give me 87 more seconds. All I want you to do is please subscribe, leave us a review, leave us a 5-star rating. Do that now. You listen this far, just go ahead and leave us that quick review. Also, go to the Instagram. Follow us on the Instagram, the Badass Dads Podcast there. Go on Facebook, you can follow us there. Go to our website, BadAssDads.org. Register there. You can get all the up-to-date, everything from behind the scenes. Get this stuff. You can also find some swag, t-shirts and hats and mugs and different things, notebooks. There. So please, you listen to this far, give us a few more seconds. Have a badass day.